Hey guys, we're back down in the shop again, and we're going to be finishing up this side plate jig. We only went down about a quarter of an inch last time, and we need to go down 3 inches. And I know some of you might be thinking, is this end mill is probably not long enough to go down 3 inches. Well, that's where we purchased this end mill, and this end mill is extra long, and the cutting length is actually 3 inches. So we'll have plenty of stability, and we'll be able to go down as far as we need to. So, alright, let's get started. So we continue with the regular milling operation using just a standard 1/2-inch end mill that we had on hand. Somebody suggested that we should have just used a 90-degree face mill instead, and that way we could have just milled out the large section all at once and then used a smaller end mill just for the corner sections. And that's actually a great suggestion. In fact, I found one that has about a 2.5-inch reach, which would have been perfect for what we were doing. Unfortunately, that face mill plus the inserts would have cost us around $160, and that's just an investment that we just can't make right now. We're on a very tight budget right now, and we're only purchasing things that we absolutely need in order to get the job done. I do see a need for a 90-degree face mill in the future, but it's just not a top priority right now. So as you can see, we're making progress with this jig little by little. It's not an easy working with just a 1/2-inch end mill, but it's all we have, so it gets the job done. The video is extremely sped up, so it appears as if we have some sort of CNC going on, but believe me, at this point I wish we did. Luckily, this isn't an operation that we'll have to do again in the future. This jig is just a one-off, and if it wasn't, we'd be looking at other options. And to make matters worse, we had to stop after each pass to clear out all the chips. And this isn't so bad when you have an airline standing by, but it's still a nuisance. We even tried to use a shop vac hose that right next to the end mill, but that ended up being more trouble than it was worth. I know that the camera angle really isn't the best, and we even tried to get a different angle at one point, but it's difficult to see the work when it's behind a wall of aluminum, so it's the best we could do right then. Okay, so I wanted to stop the milling so that I could go over a couple of things. Right now, we haven't gone as far over as we need to as far as the sides. The sides kind of look a little rough, and that's going to be cleaned up. But I don't know if you can tell, but there's still a little scribe line right here, and on the sides here and up here. That's the line for the final measurement, and I haven't gone ahead and scribed that or milled that out just yet. I'm saving that for later. I'm saving that for the very last. I didn't want to go too far. So that's one thing. The second thing is that when we get down far enough, I think maybe about 2.5 inches, I'm gonna put standoffs. I'm gonna mill out standoffs, probably a couple here, and then a couple over here. That's so that the chips have somewhere to go when everything's been drilled out. I don't want a buildup of chips inside the holes or on the top, so they need to have some place to go. So that's going to be there's going to be standoffs made, and I think that's it. The only other thing I wanted to mention was someone said that someone had mentioned that my milling machine looked way too clean. So this is for you. Alright, so you might not be able to tell, but we've switched over to our long end mill. And something that I noticed was that when we tried to cut the same amount with this long end mill as we did with the short one, we get a lot of chattering and a lot of noise, and it doesn't cut very well. So we had to slow down the cutting by only cutting about 20 thousandths at a time. That's going to take quite a bit of time to do. So I'm not going to show all this this cutting out, because it would be, you know, an astronomically long video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get down to the point to where we are going to mill out the standoffs, and I'll show that. I'll give you a different camera angle, but right now the camera is sitting in a position where the tripod's sitting in a position where it wouldn't be able to show any cutting because it's too low. So I'll try to get a better shot of when we do the standoffs, so that way you can see how it was done. And I'll speed up the video so it doesn't, you know, so you guys get to see it in not in real time, but sped up so it doesn't take forever. Anyway, in the meantime, I made these little sheet metal covers for my table, and I noticed that a lot of people were making these things, and they make them out of you know, wood or whatever. And I also made a cover for my digital readout, and somebody had suggested that, and that's because the track excuse me, was getting chips on it, and the reader doesn't you know, it doesn't agree with chips very well, so I had to make a cover for it, and that's just made out of a 1x1 angle bar aluminum, and it seems to work out really well. I drilled and tapped, you know, a couple of holes, one on the angle bar and one on the side of the table, and you know, it works perfect. I don't have my vise sitting perfectly center, so this is, you know, hanging over a little bit, but that's not that big of a deal. Anyway, I just wanted to show that I made a couple of covers, so that should come in handy later. Anyway, well, I'll start the video again when we start to do the standoffs. Alright. Okay, so I am exactly, or almost exactly, 2.5 inches down, as you can see. I don't know if you can make that out on camera, but I'm 2.5 inches down, and I need to go another 1/2 inch. So this is the point where I'm going to start making standoffs, and I think I'm going to make a couple here, and then a couple over here. So they should be located somewhere in the middle of the track, here and here and here and here. I guess that's it. Other than the standoffs, I don't need to do anything else except for the final measurements on the side, and to sort of clean it up, because it's got a rough cut on all these sides, so I need to clean that up. I guess that's it. And let's I'll give you a good camera angle for that. We decided to show you this part of the video even though milling out the standoffs didn't work out so well. It was a nice idea, but it just didn't end up being very useful, so we scrapped it. We tried to get the camera up higher, so we set it on the table that the lathe sits on, and even then it still wasn't high enough to see over the wall of aluminum. We do eventually find a better camera angle, and then you'll see that in a bit. Alright, so halfway through the standoffs, I realized that that was not going to be a good idea. Number one, the standoffs would have been right where the holes are, and number two, I can just make standoffs myself, and they will work just as well. So I'm not going to make any standoffs on this jig, and we're just going to go down I think maybe 20 thousandths more, and then we're going to call that good, and then we're going to shave off the sides, and that's going to be it. I'm going to try to find a much better camera angle, because the one I tried is not working out so well. So let me see if I can get a much better camera angle. I know it's hard to see since it's closed off right here, so I'll try to see if I can get a better camera angle on it. If I can't, then I don't know. We'll see what we can do. So this camera angle seems to be the best one we could get, and this wasn't so easy to set up. We had to stuff it all the way in the corner, and it was just over far enough that it wouldn't get in the way of the machine. So at this point, we decided that we had gone down as far as we really needed to, so we cut maybe a thousandth of an inch more just to get a decent finish on the bottom, and that was it. After that, we moved on to milling the rest of the material that was left over on the sidewalls. In the beginning, we left enough room on the sides so that if we were to make a mistake, it wouldn't be so bad. We did end up cutting into the sides in a couple places, but it's nothing that would hurt the overall function of the jig. Milling off the sides was probably the loudest thing I've heard from this machine. It chattered constantly and left a not so smooth finish, but the finish really wasn't what mattered. All that really mattered is that the side plates fit into position, and I think we nailed it. Alright, so we are done. Well, done with the milling, that is. I still have to tap these holes, this one, this one, and this one. And then the jig is finished. I just wanted to show you how tight of a fit this is. Let's take one of these soon-to-be side plates and I'll put it in, and it slides in just like that. And it doesn't even move. There's just a little bit of play in there, and I did that on purpose so that they could slide in and out. But other than that, they don't move at all. There's maybe maybe or maybe half a thousandth of play in there. So yeah, and now you can see why I did these corners like I did. They're drilled out or milled out so that the corners could fit in there. So now you understand why I did that. Okay, so all that's left to do is to tap these holes, and then that'll be it. Okay, so we brought the jig back over to the work table to tap out the holes so that we can clamp the top to the jig so it won't move when we're drilling the holes into the side plates. I only managed to get footage of one of the taps, so that's what you're seeing. Okay, so now that we're finished with the milling out, I showed you before that that the side plates fit in there nice and snug. And what I've done is I've gone over to the milling machine again with the top plate, and that's this. And these holes right here, here, and here were not drilled out to size, so I had to drill those out so that a M6 bolt could go through it. And what I've done is I just wanted to show you how this works. Now that the top plate has been drilled out to size, these fit in here. I drilled and tapped, or I tapped these. The holes were already drilled, but I tapped this bottom section so that the bolts could fit in just like this. And this ensures that the top plate will not move when I take it back over to the milling machine to do all the holes for the side plates. So that's how that works. I just wanted to show you guys how that operates. Let's see if these are tight. And then, as you can see, the side plates fit in just like that. And you know, I'll make some standoffs to go on the bottom so that they don't. So that I can drill the holes all the way through and not have to drill holes into this into this bottom, so I don't mess it up. But yeah, that's it's coming along. The only other thing I needed to show you was the side plates after they've been completely cut and the shape of them. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this series with this. And I'm going to start a new series of a new jig, and that's going to be for the bandsaw. This new bandsaw jig is going to be so that I can cut out the shape for the side plates, and that's absolutely necessary because otherwise I'd have to do them by hand, and trying to hold a piece of metal and get a straight cut is almost impossible. So I'm going to need to make a jig for the side plates for the bandsaw. So that's coming up next. I just wanted to show you the side plate jig is now complete. Next up is the jig for the bandsaw. Stay tuned, guys. That's coming up next.